Three types of parents that I've noticed, and as I speak these, you're gonna notice that at times you have fallen into one of these categories, okay? There's three types of undisciplined parents, and here they are. Number one is what I would call the lifeguard parent, okay? This is the parent who often rescues a child from consequences, okay? Now this is the super mom, okay? That every time little Johnny is about to get into trouble or about to do something wrong, she swoops in at the last minute and rescues him so that he has absolutely no pain whatsoever, okay? So this is where little Johnny, he forgets his lunch every day, and she's like at the last minute swoops in, delivers him the lunch, every single day. Or this is where, he or she has the science project that is due. And they put it off, and they put it off, and they put it off, and the last minute, all right, Dad comes in, he's like, all right, I'll build you the model of the little Indian reserve, whatever it is, okay? Swoops in at the last minute and gets it done. The problem with that is if that goes on for too long, there's no felt consequence for putting stuff off or making a mistake. And so they always have thought, man, I am owed something. I am owed to be rescued, and they carry that on the rest of their life. And it's not a good thing. Galatians 6:7 says this, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Now, we know that. We hear that all the time. And I'm thinking, if people really understood that, a man reaps what he sows, man, you would understand life a lot better. People think that they are owed more than what they put into life many of the times. You have people with a lot of problems because they feel like they are owed. They get into victimization. They think that they're going to be rescued, and they wind up down, and their attitude is downcast, and they are away from God, and they cannot praise Him. And it is not a good thing, for sure. The lifeguard parents. How many of you, be honest and say, man, there have been times when I've been a lifeguard parent? Just raise your hand if you're real honest. I will raise my hand too. Yeah, we've done it. We did it. Okay? The second one is what I would call the Etch-a-Sketch parents. You know what an Etch-a-Sketch is? I don't know if they even have those anymore. But they were this little, they do still have them? Okay. A little red red thing with that you turn the knobs, it draws little lines, and you turn it upside down and shake it, the lines go away. In Arkansas, they call it a computer. Just kidding. Just kidding. Actually, we like Arkansas. We like Arkansas this week because they beat LSU, and that's a good thing for sure. So I don't want to be making fun of the Arkansas folks. Etch-a-Sketch, okay? This is the parent where they are often inconsistent. Just like an Etch-a-Sketch, the lines are always changing. They're always moving. They're being drawn, they're being erased. New ones are being drawn in different places, and they're being erased. The new ones are being drawn, they're being erased. It's the Etch-a-Sketch parents. Proverbs 29:15 says, the rod of correction imparts wisdom, but a child left to himself disgraces his mother. Discipline your son, and he will give you peace. He will bring delight to your soul. Now, here's one of the things that's really weird. There was some research done a few years back. And what they did is and I don't know exactly how they did this, but they basically built a playground in the middle of the field, and they put a bunch of kids on it to play. And it was a big field, and there were no fences around it whatsoever. And they just had the kids go and they played. And all the kids stayed, at a certain age of kids stayed right around the little playground. And they stood right there and they played. It was good, and they observed that. Well, then what they did is about 50 feet out on each side, they actually built a fence so that they couldn't get out. When they did that, the kids actually not only played on the jungle gym, but they actually moved out to all over the playground and all over the yard. So the argument usually is, it's like, man, you know what, we shouldn't draw too many lines for the kids. But actually, by giving them set and steady boundaries, it actually helps them to explore. It helps them to get out and get where they need to believe. One of the problems that a lot of times kids have is that they see with their parents, the lines are always changing. At one point, there's a set of behavior that the expectation is right here, but then the next day it's gone, and it's set here. Or it's set here. And there's this kind of inconsistency factor that makes them wonder, man, what am I supposed to be about? Where am I supposed to be? And it just makes them wonder so much. They are looking and hoping and praying, even though they might not show it, for the security of those lines. And who is going to give that to them? It's you, their parents. A lot of times we say to ourselves, man, I just want to be their best buddy. No, you're not their best buddy. That is not what you're called to be. You're called to be their parents. Now, you can be their buddy as well. I go up to my kids and say, man, I'm your buddy. Daddy's your buddy. they understand very clearly Daddy is the one that sets the lines, and Mommy is the one that sets the lines. And it's very, very clear. Now, I admit to you, and I think you could probably relate, is there are some days where I just feel like I'm just like Nazi dad, you know? And it's awful. And then there's some days where I feel like I'm cruise ship director dad, you know? And I'm all about fun. And sometimes I'm like, man, you know, sometimes I am kind of inconsistent. And I can see how that can be confusing. But we need to work to try to make it to where the lines are as clear as possible. How many would say that maybe at some point, raise your hand if you've been an Etch-a-Sketch parent where the lines have kind of changed around a little bit? Maybe you have. Now here's the other one right here. This is what I call the split decision parents. Okay, and this is the parents that are often ununified in where those lines are drawn. Amos 3:3 says this, "The two walk together unless they have agreed to do so." And here's the issue right here that you've got to get, is when you get married and you have children, you are one. It is not her kids and his kids. It is your kids because you are one. And if parents are different, and they're in different places, what happens is, a lot of times, and we've seen this with Christian, is sometimes he'll come up and he'll ask me for something. He'll come up and he'll say, "Man, Daddy, what about this? Can I do this?" And I'll start to answer and I'll think, wait a minute. Have you asked Mom about this yet? And he'll go like, "Yeah. Well, what did she say about it?" "Well, she said this." "Well, why are you asking me about it?" Because we are one. Our decision is one and the same. But sometimes they learn that, you know what? Maybe if one's a little bit softer and one's a little bit harder, they'll figure out, okay, who do I need to go to ask to get this done? Okay? And they'll play you off of each other. No, you need to be unified in your decision making. That is a great example that you can show your kids and say, "Man, when you are married, you are one and the same. And what Mommy says, Daddy says. What Daddy says, Mommy says." I tell you what, we've been in a couple of situations where we've almost been caught off guard with that. And I can think of a few times where I went ahead and said, "Oh yeah, just go for it." And they're like, "Yeah!" They're like tearing out of their room. I'm like, "What's going on?" And then I'll find out later that, you know, Mom told them something different. I'll have to, "Hey, whoa, guys, come on. No. And then we have to get it straightened in, okay? Unified parent. How many would say, maybe you've been in that situation before, okay? You know, this is something that happens to Karen and I every once in a while, is maybe I'll just be a little bit off my guard, and I'll have it a little bit down, and Karen will have her guard on a little bit more, and something will be going on where one of the kids needs to be adjusted with, or dealt with, or disciplined in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just kind of not paying attention. I'm just kind of, you know, thinking about my day or whatever. You know, and she'll do something, then I'll be right there in the room. I'll be like, okay, they'll take care of their thing over there, you know. And they do it, it's done, and the kids leave. And Karen's like, "Andrew, back up, come on, you know, help me out here, you know." You need to back each other up. It's a good thing, okay? Split decision parent. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 3 things that you can set for yourself as parental expectations that can really help you to navigate this. And this is really the very tip of the iceberg, or maybe even just the baseline of what it should be like, okay? Parental expectations. Number 1, we expect first time and cheerful obedience. First time and cheerful obedience. I heard somebody say, "Preach it, preach it." Colossians 3:20 says this, "Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord." Now look what it says, obey your parents in everything. Notice how it doesn't say obey your parents after the 3rd or 4th or 5th time. It certainly doesn't say that. And Philippians 2:14 says, "Do everything without complaining or arguing." Now obviously this is the way we as believers are supposed to be with God. But you know what? First time and cheerful obedience. Now here's what will happen a lot of times. And we've seen this happen, is we'll ask our children to do something. And they will do it. But it will come, we get the desired action, but the attitude behind the action is not anywhere near where it needs to be. It's like, okay, whatever, fine. I'll do it. And they'll just do this little thing. And they do it. We get the action that we need to have, but the attitude is not there. And actually, I would argue with you that it actually almost needs to be the other way around. The attitude is almost even more important. Because if the attitude is there, if it's there, the action will certainly follow right behind. We go for first time and cheerful